Kempire is brought to you by.
Happy New Year, guys. Thank you so much, first of all, for those that rated and reviewed the Kempire podcast in 2024. But if you haven't rated and reviewed us 5 stars already on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, do it today. We're trying to reach 1,000 reviews on Kempire's podcast, on Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Be sure to tell us what you love about the podcast. Washington, D.C., the Kempire After Dark live experience is returning to your city for another live show. If you haven't already, get your tickets today for our meet and greets, and general admission are still available. Then New York City, you're up next. We're coming back for Black History Month. So if you want to hear us talk about hot topics, housewives, and more, get your tickets for our Friday, February 21st live show at the Green Room 42. More information on Washington, D.C. and New York City will be available in the description. Sidebar, don't forget, New York City, you have a special live stream ticket available as well. Again, more information will be available in the description notes. You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Sean Diddy Combs is back in the headlines, and this time his mother, Janice Combs, is a focus. In the new Peacock documentary, they're talking about Diddy's freak-off parties may have been something that was influenced from what he saw as a child. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. We are still sending out our heartfelt prayers to everyone affected by the fires in California. And as a reminder to those that follow the channel, please spread the word. If you are in California and you are nearby these fires, please limit your time outside and make sure that you wear a mask. Sean Diddy Combs, as you know, we've been following this story and his legal situation and the multiple, over 100 civil lawsuits that are pending coming for him. As you also know, we revealed to you just a couple of days ago that Peacock has a documentary coming out on January 14th talking all about Diddy. So it wasn't that long ago that we did a video talking about Janice Combs, Diddy's mother, releasing a statement to a local news outlet in Florida talking about the way the media has portrayed her son. At the time, her statement said this from her attorneys. They said Janice Combs, the mother of Sean Combs, through her undersigned counsel and on behalf of the Combs family, releases the following statement. She says, I come to you today as a mother that is devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations made against my son, Sean Combs. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies. To bear witness what seems to be a public lynching of my son before he had the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put into words. Like every human being, my son deserves to have his day in court, to finally share his side and to prove his innocence. She says, I am not here to portray my son as perfect because he is not. He has made mistakes in the past as well we all have. My son may not have been entirely truthful about certain things, such as denying that he has ever gotten violent with an ex-girlfriend when the hotel surveillance showed otherwise. Sometimes the truth and a lie become so closely intertwined that it becomes terrifying to admit one part of the story, especially when the truth is outside the norm or is too complicated to be believed. This is why I believe my son's civil legal team opted to settle the ex-girlfriend's lawsuit, Cassie Ventura, instead of contesting it until the end, resulting in a ricochet effect as the federal government used this decision against my son by interpreting it as an admission of guilt. Well, he also admitted to harming Cassie in a video when that was leaked last year.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. But sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry, but I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
She continues in her statement at the time. She says, it's important to recognize that none of us, regardless of our status, are immune to fear or mistakes. Not being entirely straightforward about one issue does not mean my son is guilty of the repulsive allegations and the grave charges leveled against him. She says many individuals who were wrongfully convicted and later exonerated had their freedom taken from them, not because they were guilty of the crimes that they were accused of, but because they didn't fit the image of what the society considers to be a, quote, good person. History has showed us how individuals can be wrongfully convicted due to their past actions or mistakes. She says, watching the world make jokes and laugh at my son's life crumbling before our eyes is something I can never forget. It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against my son so quickly and easily over lies and misconceptions without even hearing his side or affording him the opportunity to present his side. These lies thrown at him are motivated by seeking a financial gain and not justice. These individuals saw how quickly my son's civil legal team settled his ex-girlfriend's lawsuit, so they believe they can receive a quick payday by falsely accusing my son. False allegations of SA thwart true victims of sexual violence from getting the justice they deserve. Sound familiar, that sentence? You may recall this was a similar sentence that Jay-Z included in his recent statement against Tony Buzby. She says, to make matters worse, the federal government is now using these lies to prosecute my son. This injustice has been unbearable for our family. The worst part of this ordeal is watching my beloved son be stripped of his dignity, not for what he did, but for what people choose to believe about him. I ask his supporters, fans, colleagues, friends, and the public to not judge him before you have the chance to hear his side. I beg you to think about those who have been wrongfully persecuted, to remember that not everyone who has made mistakes in life deserves to have their entire existence judged by a single action or a few mistakes. My son is not the monster they have painted him to be, and he deserves the chance to tell his side. I can only pray that I'm alive to see him speak his truth and be vindicated. This came before Sean Diddy Combs tried multiple times to seek bail. As you know, he's now decided not to seek bail for the umpteenth time. The last report that we reported on Sean Diddy Combs, we had reported that there were rumors that Sean Diddy Combs had a meltdown over the holidays because he did not expect to still be in jail. In covering this statement, there have been a lot of conspiracy theories. There have been a lot of thoughts and opinions about Sean Diddy Combs and why he decided to turn into this monster, a monster that Janice Combs claims that he is not. Well, some have taken a look at her and said that maybe it started with her. The multiple pictures and videos of their relationship documented on social media, people say that there are clues saying that, see, they had such a weird, odd relationship. Well, apparently in this new Peacock documentary about Sean Diddy Combs, they're talking openly about some of the things that Sean Diddy Combs may have seen as a child. So our friends over at Rolling Stone write this. Sean Diddy Combs' mother, Janice Combs, would often throw wild parties at the future music mogul's childhood home, where it wasn't uncommon to walk into a room where adults were having sex. One of Combs' longtime childhood friends claims in the new documentary. He says, that's what we were privy to. This is what we were fed, hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson says in Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, which premieres on Peacock on Tuesday, January 14th. Was it desensitizing us? I'm sure it was. Were we aware of it? No, that was just a Saturday night. Patterson used that alleged childhood memory as a possible explanation on how Combs found himself at the center of a federal racketeering and trafficking investigation, where he's accused of forcing his ex-girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura to participate in filmed drug-fueled encounters with male S-workers that Combs allegedly dubbed freak-offs. The 55-year-old is also facing nearly 40 civil lawsuits from men and women alleging that he preyed upon them between 1990 and 2024. Pleading not guilty to the 3 criminal charges against him, Combs' legal team has categorically denied the claims made against him in civil lawsuits. Mr. Combs saying in the statement, Mr. Combs has never S-aid or S-trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor, they said in a previous statement. Patterson says, I've always been asked the question why. I don't know the answer to why, but I truly believe it all goes back to childhood. Reps for Sean and Janice Combs did not immediately respond for comment in regards to the new Peacock documentary. The new Peacock documentary dives into Combs' childhood and early adolescence, speaking with Mount Vernon childhood friends, early Uptown Records colleagues, and Howard University classmate turned hitman producer Ron Amon-Ra Lawrence. Combs grew up in Mount Vernon, a suburb in the fringes of Upper Manhattan. Janice had moved her young family there after Combs' father, Melvin, was murdered in 1972. A known associate of the Harlem drug kingpins, including Nicky Barnes, Willie Abraham, and Frankie Lucas, Melvin was found twice in the head, slumped over in a car. Janice kept the details of Melvin's grisly murder from her young son, intent on providing him an idyllic childhood. Combs was always dressed to the nine and as a result was, quote, looked at as a rich kid, Patterson says in the documentary. He played Little League Baseball, served as an altar boy, and made the football team at his all-boys private Catholic high school. But Combs' peers, quote, could smell he was not tough, Patterson said, claiming that Combs was badly bullied as a kid. Sidebar, a lot of times people that were bullied end up becoming bullies. Meanwhile, at home, there was always things going on, Patterson said, adding that Janice would frequently throw parties at the home. On the weekend, Combs had partied in the house, and we did that a lot. He was around all types of alcohol. He was around reefer smoke, drug addicts around, lesbians around, homosexuals. He was around pimps, pushers. That was just who was in our house. People that attended the parties were from Harlem, from the streets. It wouldn't be a thing to mistakenly walk into one of the bedrooms and you got a couple in there butt naked. DJ Easy Lee Davis, also a Mount Vernon native who was also with Combs and spun for Mary J. Blige in her early years, noted that while he never attended Janice's parties, he heard rumors about what occurred at the parties where everyone was welcome. Janice had little cool chicks that would come around and she made sure everybody was comfortable, Davis explained, laughing. Combs previously mentioned having an early introduction to sex, frequently watching softcore porn, and losing his virginity at the age of 12, replicating the rough moves he had been watching in adult videos. I was acting just like a corn stars act. I was smacking that A. I was smacking that girl's A, he told Vibe in 1999. I didn't do it on my own. She wanted me to smack that A. I flipped her over because I saw it on the movie, and then she told me to do it again. In the 90-minute long documentary, also includes interviews with singer Al B. Sure, who reportedly supposedly going to be a part of the 50 Cent Netflix Diddy documentary, who opens up for the first time about his acrimonious, decades-long relationship with Combs after the music executive aggressively pursued model Kim Porter. At the time, Porter was dating Brown and recently gave birth to their son, Quincy. I didn't realize that the relationship between Al B. Sure and Kim Porter was so closely around the same relationship that she had with Sean Diddy Combs, even though it dates all the way back, so it makes sense. But it's also interesting because you may recall Ryan Leslie also was in a relationship with Cassie Ventura and also worked with Cassie on her song Me and You, and then that is apparently when Cassie was pursued by Diddy, and all of a sudden that relationship with Ryan Leslie was over, and now she's in a relationship with Diddy. Also speaking out for the first time is the band star Sarah Rivers, who details an unsettling experience with Combs while filming the MTV reality show Making the Band in the early 2000s. I haven't said anything in so long, she said through tears. So as you know, Sean Diddy Combs is awaiting trial scheduled for May 5th of this year, and he's been awaiting trial at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since September of last year. Sean Diddy Combs is charged with trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He pled not guilty to the 3 charges. If convicted, he faces 15 years to life in prison. This is just the beginning of 2025, but I also believe this is just the beginning of the Diddy documentaries that are slated to come out this year. I know of at least 3. Jay-Z is not done with Tony Buzby. He's now asking the court to include the NBC interview where the alleged victim, who says she was 13 years old when Sean Diddy Combs and Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, assaulted her. Not only that, Jay-Z's attorneys are seeking sanctions against Tony Buzby. So we've been following this Tony Buzby versus Jay-Z legal situation for weeks now. And you may recall, if you don't, I'll give you a quick synopsis or check out our previous videos on this for further details in this back and forth between Jay-Z and Tony Buzby. Back in October, Tony Buzby, who's representing multiple Sean Diddy Combs alleged victims, filed a lawsuit alleging that Sean Diddy Combs and an unknown celebrity, at the time male celebrity, AR'd a 13-year-old girl after a Video Music Awards ceremony. Just a few weeks ago, they refiled that lawsuit and added Jay-Z's name. As you know, a couple of weeks before that, an unknown celebrity filed a lawsuit against Tony Buzby accusing him of extortion. There's been multiple back and forths between Jay-Z and Tony Buzby since then, both within court and on social media. And for the very first time, we've seen Jay-Z really confront a rumor and this lawsuit on the public stage. So much so, he was accused by the judge over this case of combative motions. His attorneys faced the judge stating that all of these combative motions is not helping your client. It was just the other day that we reported to you that the court did allow for Jay-Z to officially file for the dismissal of this lawsuit. Well, there's more. According to Rolling Stone, they said Jay-Z has filed a new motion to dismiss the lawsuit of a woman who alleged that Sean Diddy Combs and the Roc Nation mogul SA'd her as a 13-year-old girl during a VMA's after party in 2000. The rapper's real name, Sean Carter, filed his latest bid to have a judge toss the case on Wednesday, highlighting what they claim are impossibilities and inconsistencies in the woman's account. Carter's attorney relied heavily on an interview that the Jane Doe accuser gave to NBC News back in last December, where she admitted to, quote, making some mistakes in aspects of her story. Carter's lawyers are also seeking that the U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres impose a monetary sanction on the woman's lawyer, Tony Buzby, claiming that he failed to properly vet the woman's story before filing the highly explosive case. In a quote, they said to sign a pleading accusing someone of such a horrific crime without adequately vetting the allegation, particularly when the defendant's prominence means that the allegation will be repeated in headlines across the world, is deeply wrong and unethical, Carter's attorney Alex Spiro argued in court papers obtained by Rolling Stone. If lawyers do not face consequences for such a cavalier of effort to destroy another person's reputation and inflict emotional harm on his loved ones, the tactic will proliferate. I believe what Jay-Z's attorneys are saying here, and as I'm reading this, the possibilities of what this could mean, I think this is also a way of telling Tony Buzby, if you have any other person in your arsenal of alleged victims that have allegations against me, you better make sure you've done your due diligence, because now I'm just showing you what we are willing to do and how far we're willing to go. And that also goes for anyone else that Tony Buzby might be accusing of allegations, because you remember Tony Buzby says that he's representing over 120 alleged Sean Diddy Combs victims. But some of these people that might be attached to Sean Diddy Combs and his freak-off parties have already allegedly, according to Tony Buzby, reached settlement with other victims. Rolling Stone says in a statement to Rolling Stone, Buzby said that he won't be, quote, bullied or intimidated by Carter and his team. He says Mr. Spiro and his firm are paid by the hour, so they file a lot of junk with the court, he said. Sidebar, again, the court agreed with Tony Buzby in regards to some of these combative motions from Jay-Z's legal team. He says, with each frantic filing, his team reeks of desperation. He and his team think the laws and the rules do not apply to them. They are flat wrong. They also think they can bully or intimidate counsel for victims by filing meritless and frivolous pleadings full of lies and half-truths. Again, they are dead wrong. We will address the utter lack of merit with his filing with the court rather than with the press. So Jay-Z's attorneys are saying because of this interview that the victim, alleged victim, did, she admitted that there were inconsistencies about who may have taken her home after this alleged party, and some other things. You may recall when this information came out, Jay-Z and his legal team posted on the Roc Nation account, which is still there, highlighting the fact that there was inconsistencies and coming at Tony Buzby saying that, you see, he is filing frivolous lawsuits without doing his own due diligence and vetting for allegations. The request for dismissal and actions follows Carter's adamant denials and escalating war against Buzby, who claims to represent more than 120 clients who wish to bring cases against Combs. Calling the allegation, quote, heinous last month, Carter said that he would vigorously defend himself against an idiotic attempt at blackmail. He says, I will not give you one red penny, he wrote in a statement. Representatives for Combs have previously denied the woman's accusations as well. The Jane Doe accuser, who filed her original complaint in October and amended in December to name Carter, claimed that she found her way to Combs' exclusive after party after trying to gain entry to MTV's Video Music Awards in 2000. While waiting outside the venue, Doe, who is now 38 and lives in Alabama, alleged that she met a driver who claimed to work for Combs, who took her to the Bad Boy Entertainment founder after party a few hours later. So she claims that at arriving at this party, she signed an NDA. Then soon after taking sips of her drink, the woman claimed that she began to feel lightheaded and snuck into a bedroom to rest. Combs, Carter, and an unnamed female celebrity allegedly entered the room soon after, according to her complaint. Combs, quote, aggressively approached plaintiff with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her and said, "You are ready to party," her suit alleged. The men allegedly took turns assaulting Doe while the female celebrity watched. We still have not heard whether or not this unnamed female celebrity has settled with Tony Buzby or will be filing her own lawsuit like Jay-Z has against Tony Buzby. But the woman's story, according to Rolling Stone, began to be questioned when her father told NBC that he did not recall ever picking her up, saying that he would remember making a 10-hour road trip to retrieve his teenage daughter. I have made some mistakes, the woman told NBC in a follow-up interview. I may have made a mistake in identifying. Carter's lawyers included a copy of the NBC interview in court paperwork, routinely citing the inconsistencies as justification for why the lawsuit should be dismissed and why Tony Buzby should be sanctioned. They also pointed out other purported impossibilities in the woman's story, which we've covered as well, including watching the award show on a jumbotron and Combs owning a home with a U-shaped driveway that was roughly 20 minutes away from Midtown Manhattan. So they were looking for inconsistencies within her story, saying that if this were true, first of all, the law that she's suing under, it only covers New York City. They're saying if this happened, it's probably outside of New York City. And they're saying that this law technically covers December of 2000, and if she's talking about the VMAs, this happened in September of 2000. Carter's attorney says, by any objective measure, the fact that nearly every step in plaintiff's narrative, from her arrival at the VMAs to her interactions with the limousine driver and celebrities to the ride with her father, turns out to be false or highly unlikely, casts considerable doubt on plaintiff's allegations that Mr. Carter barred her, and which he did not. Still, the woman said that she stands by her claims. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me and the route that I took to what happened to me, she said. As Carter fights the Jane Doe's case, he's also going after Buzby in a separate lawsuit in California, suing the national trial attorney for extortion and defamation for his statements and practices used while pursuing the Jane Doe's case. Buzby, as you may recall, fired back in his own lawsuit against the rapper's company Roc Nation and law firm Quinn Emanuel, claiming that they were using shadowy operatives to illegally entice former Buzby clients into filing frivolous claims against him, including a former lover accusing Tony Buzby of giving her a venereal disease. So the situation between Jay-Z and Tony Buzby continues. It will be interesting to see what the court says. As you know, the court has already reprimanded Jay-Z and his legal team, but it looks like Jay-Z and his legal team are taking the proper steps to continue their fight against Tony Buzby. So radio personality Charlamagne the God is speaking out on Wendy Williams' behalf, revealing that he spoke to her over the holidays. According to him, based on their conversation, he could see her being on radio tomorrow if she wanted. So we've been following this Wendy Williams story since it all has been unfolding for the last few years. But most recently in the last year, since Wendy Williams has been under a guardianship with Sabrina Morrissey, who's suing A&E Networks for the Where Is Wendy Williams documentary. She's also in a legal battle with Wendy Williams' ex-husband, Kelvin Hunter. And there have been a lot of questions because court documents recently stated that, according to Wendy Williams' guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, Wendy Williams is, quote, permanently incapacitated. I'm going to emphasize, again, we had a conversation with allegedly Stephanie here on YouTube about Wendy Williams and this conservatorship, guardianship. They call conservatorship here in New York, a guardianship. We talked a little bit more about the terminology permanently incapacitated. Since that information came out, we've seen multiple examples, most recently of Wendy Williams in Miami for her son, Kevin Hunter Jr.'s college graduation, that Wendy seems fine. Wendy is able to walk. I know she does have a scooter, but according to multiple sources, Wendy is free to walk. You may recall during the Where's Wendy Williams documentary, it seemed as if Wendy Williams' family had been cut off, and the only way that they could communicate with her was through Wendy reaching out to them. According to my sources, that has since changed, and Wendy is closer to her family. But while traveling to Miami for her son's college graduation, she did travel with caretakers. You may have seen video footage of Wendy being very upset with her caretakers not grabbing her scooter. She's like, if you want to work for me, then do your job.
And then both of you walked away, leaving my in the middle of the street right there. Where's off your Just get the car over here. Make sure it's the right car.
Look, Wendy, what happened? What'd they do?
They got the wrong car. So I knocked on the door, and it was totally wrong car. They left my scooter as they walked over there, leaving my most precious, this cost of me. Wow. They just left my out there. Get the car over here, not over there. Where I can go easily into the street for the car. You're supposed to be ordering the car. That's what you're supposed to be doing. They want to work for me. That's what they're doing. They're making money for me. Get the goddamn car.
Clearly, Wendy doesn't want them working for her. You also may recall when the footage came out of Wendy in Miami, her son was in the comment section saying that we just want to bring my mom home. She wants to be home. She doesn't like to be isolated the way that she's currently isolated. And he also said that she's more sober than ever, more clear than ever. He even said all the news that was coming out in regards to her being permanently incapacitated was cap, meaning that it wasn't true. Well, now, someone that had worked with Wendy Williams, someone that Wendy Williams introduced to the world, some might say Charlamagne the God would not be where he is today and have what he has without his time with Wendy Williams. As you also know, while Wendy Williams was married to Kelvin Hunter, that was part of the reason that really probably broke this relationship and friendship over the years. However, after Wendy and Kelvin got a divorce, we did see a reunion between Charlamagne and Wendy in the spotlight. So it should be no surprise that Charlamagne received a phone call. It seemed as if they hadn't talked in a while because Charlamagne revealed on The Breakfast Club that he had spoken to Wendy Williams over the holidays. And based on based on his experience with her in that conversation, and it feels like he was not saying everything that they talked about, which I can respect, but he said that she sounded more clear than ever.
Deal with the holidays.
She did. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened?
she seemed perfectly fine to me. Like, Wendy sounded like she could do radio tomorrow if she wanted to.
You reached out to her. She reached out to you. How did that happen? Oh, she called you.
Yeah, and I don't know what incapacitated means in regards to dementia or whatever it is they say she was dealing with. But no, there ain't nothing incapacitated about Wendy Williams.
How was her energy? How was
she sound like Wendy Williams? Trying to tell you, like there was she didn't skip a beat. She actually said to me when she called me, she was like, "Why are you answering the phone like we just spoke yesterday? We just talked last week." Like she wanted me to be more excited.
Clearly stating that she knows time, she knows who she's talking to. And I like the fact that Charlamagne did say, I don't know what permanently incapacitated might mean when it comes to dementia. Also, what it means within our legal system, because we need that to be also stated. Permanently incapacitated may not mean exactly what we define it as, but within the court system, it might mean something else. Can Wendy Williams make decisions about her finances and health on her own consistently? That is a question. Again, that's her own personal health situation. Only she can come out with that information.
She called
stop acting like you ain't sit on my lap.
That's exactly that's exactly what it was.
Really?
To the point where they, sometimes you be on, like I have the phone on like my shoulder.
Yeah.
I was washing my hands because I peed, and
we didn't have to hear that part.
I'm just saying.
All right.
And I guess the phone must have said record or something like that. So the phone says, and when I saw it, I stopped it. So it said
recording conversation.
Stopped.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Are you recording me?" And then she was like, "No, you wouldn't do that." Like, so it's like, she's perfectly normal.
She said she wanted to come back to media. Did she say anything about that? Like, she wished she could be giving us all the tea?
I don't want to say all of that.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, she could do radio tomorrow if she wanted to.
Oh,
I'll say
all
that.
right, cool. That's what's up.
Wait a minute.
She want to.
That's not for me. Yeah,
you recorded the whole call, but you can't tell us.
I would never do that.
But,
all right,
but
cool.
Jesse should have asked him, did she want to do a podcast?
Well,
she said she already wanted to do a podcast before. She put that out there already.
I'm just saying she's calling you. You have your podcast.
She called me
network.
because it was the holidays. Okay, that's what that was about. It was a holiday phone call, catching up with your people at the end of the year. That's what that was. Yeah,
he was scared.
We're dropping the clues bombs for Wendy Williams. Okay.
What'd you say, Jess?
I said he was scared as hell. We saw that number.
It wasn't a number. It was a block call. Thank you.
Anyway,
All right.
he was even more scared.
So I feel like Charlamagne wasn't saying a lot. And I know I've been sort of twerking on the fence when it comes to what exactly could be going on with Wendy Williams. And one of the things I said in the last couple of videos in covering the Wendy Williams sightings was that I wish the family would come out and speak directly instead of through these intermediaries, these podcasts, these bloggers, and things like that. However, do I think that this was Wendy's way of getting the news out there that she is fine? What, by calling Charlamagne the God, who's on the #1 morning radio show across this country? That is the power move that Wendy needed. And shout out to all of my fellow content creators that have been covering this story and getting the information out there. All of that matters. But for me, this is a major move in regards to getting the story out there that Wendy Williams is a lot better than what the Guardian would like to put out there. The fact that Charlamagne, who I think if he felt like Wendy was not in that place, he would say it. He said that she could go on radio tomorrow based off of his conversation. I will say, here I go twerking on a fence again, that yes, people that are dealing with dementia have better days than others. However, we're seeing that Wendy seems to be consistently in a really good place. And look, I've said before, a podcast doesn't take a lot. I don't think that she should be working with the people that were originally working with her. We saw them on the documentary. It felt like there were a lot of bad people that were around Wendy Williams. If anything, I think Wendy needs to focus on getting out of this guardianship or getting the guardianship under her family. And that way she would be able to work with her son and getting the right people around her to create a podcast. If Wendy Williams decided to come back and do a podcast, not radio would be amazing for Wendy, but that means she's answering to a bigger conglomerate. I think a podcast gives her a little bit more freedom to say what she wants to say, how she wants to say it, who she wants to work with, who she doesn't want to work with. However, I know that everybody wants a Wendy Williams podcast. Everybody wants to hear from Wendy Williams. But Wendy Williams needs to focus on her sobriety, her mental health, her physical health. I see it all the time, even for people that want content from me. We have to give people grace and the time and space to heal. Because Wendy Williams is in the situation that she's in for a lot of different things, a lot of different reasons. The alcoholism, the situation with her ex-husband. She needed time to heal. Did she do that strategically the way she's doing it? Maybe, maybe not. Because one of the biggest things that came out of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary is that people that you don't even know are going through something similar that Wendy Williams has gone through. Their lives are being taken over by people that they don't even know. Their finances are being taken over by people they don't even know, and their families are being locked out. That is the larger conversation. So first, I think what we need to work on is getting Wendy Williams out of this guardianship and with her family. And no, not you, Tommy Williams. Are you still selling merch? Where's that money going to? Either way, guys, hashtag free Wendy Williams. Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Podcast. As always, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for everything Kempire Radio, head on over to KempireRadio.com.